Hi everyone, my name is Robert Ricciardi from Canada's Boss Leather Furniture, and today we're going to be talking about leather. With a name like Boss Leather, that's something that we do on a daily basis, and the questions we get commonly asked are, what's the difference between semi-aniline and full aniline? And what's top grain and what's full grain? And what's a split hide? And we use cow leather because we find it to be the most durable. It's the stuff that you're going to want that's going to last the test of time. You would use smaller hides like sheep hides, stuff like that. That would be more for purses and pigskins. That's more purses. Cow hides also used for purses and stuff like that as well, but we find that for everyday use because of the thickness, the durability of the hide, it's the best to be used on the upholstery side of things. The actual anatomy of the cow itself, when the hide is placed in front of you, that's your natural cow hide. Now, to achieve certain types of leather, that actual cowhide is milled right down horizontally. Now you're left with two layers. So you have a top layer, bottom layer. And that bottom layer is called a split leather. But the leather we're going to be talking about today is the stuff everybody buys, and this is stuff that lasts the test of time. It's called the top layer. It's the leather that takes pigment the best, and it's the best leather to work with. How do we achieve all these different terms? This semi-aniline, this full aniline, this top grain, full grain. Well, full grain and top grain actually derive from the top layer. So they're actually the same article being used. It's actually how it's finished is the end result. And that's a common misconception that people have. They assume that top grain is a different part of the cow and full grain is a different part of the cow. Not the case. Top layer. A top grain leather, you can finish it full aniline or semi-aniline. The most common way to finish a top grain leather is a semi-aniline. And there's a couple different variations of semi-aniline, the way they're finished. So some people are like, you know what, I like that smooth look. I like the leather of a smooth finished aesthetic. They are not as durable per se as what's called a thicker solid grain structure leather. Some people like a very clean, more modernized look, and you'd be kind of going towards a smoother finish type leather. So to get a smooth finish, you'd have to sand it and buff it. While you thin that out, thicker, thinner. When you get to the thinner aspect of it, you're eliminating some of the grain, you're eliminating the actual imperfections of the hide itself. When that's done, you get the smooth finish. Smooth finish leather's a little bit thinner, more pliable. Smoother leather is best suited for modernized furniture. Thicker solid grain structure leather, and the reason why it is left pebbled like this is to actually hide some of the imperfections. It almost looks like a thicker solid grain structure, almost like a football. What you will notice is you can mask a lot of imperfections. So you get more durability, a little bit thicker. You can get more than one color in it. You can get a solid tonality where there's more than one color in the leather. True benefits of leather per se, there's no real answer to which one is better. I can tell you from past experience, as you can imagine, a thicker leather got to be a little bit more durable, got to have a little bit more resilience. You're going to notice with thicker leather too, because the actual application is thicker to work with, you will notice that it keeps your integrity of your cushions more squared off. As you can imagine, when you're working with a thinner application, something like this, very modernized, yes. However, if you were to put this over a seat cushions that are 3 feet or 4 feet long, and we've done cushions as big as bench seats as big as 8 feet. Of course, you have to have seams, but thinner leather is more pliable, and more pliable meaning that you're not going to have that integrity of a perfect squared off aesthetic. So those are the main two differences as far as a semi-aniline top grain leather, which is the best stuff for everyday use. I want to make myself very clear on that. Very, very popular leathers here for us. This is the best for everyday usage, something I recommend on a daily basis. So what a semi-aniline leather means is the color's dyed throughout, but there's a top layer, top coat enamel applied to the leather to make it scratch preventative. I want to get into a full aniline leather, full aniline top grain. What you're going to be noticing here is this leather's marking and scratching. That leather didn't mark and scratch. This particular type of leather, there's no milling applied to it. It's the most natural form of leather. Again, top layer, like we talked about, it's the top layer of the actual cow, just like this was. This stuff here, natural form of leather. That's why when you mark a leather like this, it marks to the same color. It marks it just a little lighter, but what you'll notice is once you apply your natural hand oils to it, it kind of goes back to the original form. And that's kind of the beauty of it. So this type of leather like this is, it'll mark and scratch for character, but what's nice about it is it develops that natural patina and those natural characteristics over time that people love. Where this type of leather, as you pull it, it gets nicer. So imagine your beautiful tough line here and you have all that creasing. That's going to give you that beautiful aesthetic and really showcase the class and the quality of leather. This leather will always feel the best, no question about it. It's the way it's finished, it's the aesthetic of it. Now, when people are buying something for an everyday usage and they got kids and stuff like that, I would probably veer away from stuff like this. That's essentially the difference between semi-aniline and full aniline. Long story short is the colors, they're both dyed all the way through. They're just finished differently. This one's actually finished with a top layer. This one, there's no top layer. All right, and now we're going to get into full grain versus top grain. Full grain is the most pure form of leather. Full grain is going to have thicker cell grain structure, but the natural cell grain structure of the cow itself. You'll notice they're a little bit grainier, they're more sporadic. And this is the natural form of leather. This is called a natural full grain leather. It marks and scratches for character. You can blend out majority of the color, the dye itself, so you can bring it back to its normal form. But it'll mark and scratch, develop that natural patina through time and usage. A top grain leather is a leather that is smooth, variations of color. See here? Variations of color. This particular leather itself is a blotted hide. It's all hand blotted, so when it's done like that, you see different variations of color here. More distress, less mottled, more distress. There's different parts of it to give you that natural look. This is one example of it. Virtually all smooth, very, very soft to feel and touch, but sealed. This is our Fleetwood model, very, very popular, very, very deep. As you can see, a generous seating area. Lower profile, more of a modernized, but with a tinge of that rustic vibe. So a lot of people like that, where you kind of get best of both worlds. This is a full grain leather, and again, we go back to here. You see that natural variation of the hide, very natural marking. You can kind of see all the characteristics of it. And again, more you sit on it, the more you're going to get of that. Very, very soft, but again, porous. So we spill something on something like this, not going to be the best for coming off, but beautiful finish. You're going to get something that's going to kind of contort to your body. This particular piece here is finished with a downfill combination. You can see a little bit more of a relaxed aesthetic, and that happens because you're pulling leather over a casing that has down, which down, as you can imagine, moves, and that's where you get those body impressions. All your nice marking, your nicks, stuff. It kind of tells a story. That's the nicest way to say what a full grain leather does. It tells a story, and a lot of people like that, and kind of becomes that heirloom piece for people for many, many years down the road. So this is a beautiful Royal Chalet sectional, one of my favorite, finished with Duke arms, 42-inch depth. This particular leather here is part of our Cheyenne leather. And this is a top grain leather, smooth finish as you can see, but it also has a really, really cool depth, and it has a pre-modeled, got a kind of pre-manufactured aesthetic of a distressed leather where it gives you that mottled look, but with no drawbacks of marking and scratching. It kind of finished that way. Seal it, doesn't mark and scratch. Spill something on it, wipes right off. Very, very durable. They are finished with a solid core with a Dacron topper, and you can see everything a little bit tighter, a little bit neater, as opposed to the down-filled combination we had in the other room there on the full grain leather. Very neat, very taut, and again, two different type of looks. Full grain, natural form of leather, got to mark and scratch, got to develop that natural patina over time. That is the main differences between the two, between top grain and full grain. Top layer, for use for both, it's how they're finished. Those are the two differences between full grain and top grain.